A taste for chocolate milkshakes is not something you outgrow. So, having lived Atkins for years, and also as someone who's an expert on shakes, trust me on this. These are awesome. Loads of protein, lower in net carbs, and no added sugar. Just awesome.
Take a look at these faces. These are hundreds of hero firefighters who have paid the ultimate price to save countless others. And they've all lost their life to a growing but hidden epidemic. Cancer, which is now the leading cause of death among firefighters. Today, what's causing this and what you can do to help protect the men and women who protect us. Our affiliate Boston 25 News anchor Blair Miller has been investigating for months. Take a look.
They are often the first responders in very dangerous situations. Every day, firefighters run into burning buildings to save lives. Now these public servants are battling a different danger, a danger they can't see, cancer. And Boston is ground zero. I sat down with Fire Commissioner Joe Finn, who calls it an epidemic.
We had 8 diagnoses in the month of May. And that was really probably the biggest impact for numbers that I've seen since I've been here.
Big and small cities across the country are reporting higher rates of cancer among firefighters.
We wanted to know how firefighters compare to the public when it comes to cancer, and it's almost hard to believe. Firefighters have a 9% higher risk of being diagnosed with cancer compared to the U.S. general population. Even worse, the risk of dying from it is 14% higher than the public.
In San Francisco, 16% of its firefighters are women, and 15% of them have been diagnosed with breast cancer. That's 6 times the national average. Houston firefighter Margaret Roberts considered her job her calling.
I pulled him out of there, and the minute we stepped outside of the fire, the house collapsed.
But that calling would also prove to be a curse. Repeated exposure to toxic smoke may have led to a fatal blood cancer. The wife and mother of 3 was just 46 when she died. For the men and women who choose to be firefighters, they know the risks of excessive heat, burning flames, and collapsing buildings. But now, they're facing their biggest killer, a hidden occupational hazard that makes their job even riskier.
Blair Miller is joining us. So how widespread is this problem? I never heard of this epidemic before.
I think a lot of people are saying the same thing, Dr. Oz. When we first started looking into this last year, we thought it was a big Boston problem, a big city problem. But as we started looking into more of this, we revealed more layers and found this impacting families all across Massachusetts, but then even deeper, impacting families and firefighters all across the country, in small fire departments, big city fire departments, victims of occupational cancer, because they're doing something they love to do.
Well, firefighters are known for their bravery. They face crazy dangerous obstacles. Not just the flames, there's also the smoke inhalation. What is different now? What are they facing now with this cancer?
It is all types of cancer. They run the gamut. When we started looking into this, it was initially blood cancer we saw, but then we thought maybe it's lung cancer, cardiac disease, but it's much more than that. I met a family in Watertown, Massachusetts, right outside Boston. They're from diagnosis to death. That fire chief died from pancreatic cancer. You hear a lot of stories about pancreatic cancer, and that seems to be impacting a lot of firefighters.
All right, next, why? That's the big question. Why are so many firefighters getting cancer? We're meeting the family on the front lines of this epidemic. Stay with us. When did you realize that something was wrong?
My forehead project. Jackpot met.
Well, breathing.
I weighed.
Is the Pepsi
10 times difference. Cancer is now the #1 killer among firefighters. Cancer. It's a hidden epidemic uncovered by our affiliate Boston 25 News. Anchor Blair Miller is back, and y'all just saw how fast fires burn today compared to houses built 30 to 40 years ago. Why are today's modern building materials such a problem?
It's fascinating to watch. 20, 30 years ago, there were much more natural materials in homes, with your coffee table, the rug, what's hanging on the walls. Everything, exactly. Everything was more natural. Now, fast forward 30, 20 years, everything's more synthetic. Same coffee table, the couch, and so everything's burning up so much quicker, giving firefighters less time when they're inside that fire to do what they need to do. Boston Fire Department Commissioner Joe Joe Finn said, there's no silver bullet to this. We can't change that industry. What we can change is how firefighters respond.
Plus, the chemicals released, I gather, will be different as well from synthetic products. Who knows what they could be doing to the cells in your body? And those toxic chemicals not only affect firefighters, but everyone inhaling them. In covering the story, Blair has met a lot of families, none affected more than firefighter Glenn Preston, who was diagnosed with cancer at just age 39.
I was just not myself. I was running out of energy.
He remembers the summer day when he and his crew were responding to fire after fire. Most firefighters relish that. But on this day, Glenn couldn't keep up.
I was gasped for air. I couldn't breathe. I was just like dying before we even got to the scene of the fire inside. Dead. I hardly even speak. I was so winded.
What he thought might be a broken rib turned into a trip to the hospital.
I'm there for 3 or 4 hours. CAT scans, X-rays. And then I see like 7, 6, 7, 8 doctors around me, all circled around. And they explain, like, yeah, there's a mass. There's a mass in your chest. A mass. Even there's a mass. They're showing me on all these images and stuff. And come to find out, there was a mass. The size of like a grapefruit or softball between my right lung and my heart.
Glenn and his wife Eva join us from their home in Boston. Glenn, how you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Doc, and everybody else?
Well, I know you weren't feeling well this morning, so I appreciate you coming on the show despite that personal challenge you're facing. You've given so much to this job. I understand you also broke your neck doing what you love. What does being a firefighter mean to you?
To me, it's everything. The only thing really that means more to me than that is just, God and my family. I've wanted to be a fireman since I was about 2 years old, and especially to work in Boston. And it's just my everything, other than the other what I mentioned.
There's a reason firefighters are called brave, and there's always a term that we associate with risking your life the way you have. Did you ever imagine one of the risks you'd face would be cancer?
No, I think every fire guy and fire girl, when they come on the job, they know there's hazards. But I came on in 2000. I worked in a smaller department in the 90s in Hamilton, then I got in Boston in 2000. And I always thought the risk would be, a backdraft, flash over, falling through a floor, falling through a roof, falling off a roof. Not cancer, not getting blood cancer, no.
Eva, you and Glenn have 4 young children. I can hear the noise in the background from one of them playing. How has Glenn's diagnosis affected your family?
I think the initial, when we had found out what was happening, really, any family made us very concerned, worried, about everything, because Glenn provides and does a lot for our family. So it's really tough. Children sometimes have a stronger way of dealing with things, I think, than us adults. They get their days, where they would be questioned, how long, Dad's going to be around, and what does it mean to have cancer? And then there was days that they were happy and just, going about their life because they would see Glenn up and doing things. I think Glenn would just be resting a lot more in his room. A lot of the questions would come up. I also think because we've been going through it for so long now, the kids and myself have become accustomed to it.
Does it make you angry that Glenn got cancer, likely because of his job? Yeah. In so many different aspects, as a family aspect, for my children, and just for myself as a wife. I know it's tough. Thank you for your service and for being here. And thanks for being a hero in more ways than one. God bless you both. So, Blair, knowing that there's a risk of cancer, what are other firefighters being told now about the risks they face in their careers?
Well, it's their career choice, as many of them will say. And Glenn talked about that. He said, all I want to do is be a firefighter. We've spent months talking with firefighters about this very issue. And I would ask them, why are you doing this if you know this could kill you? And we say, this is all I know. This is what I love to do. The passion runs that deep. As you know, many firefighters, they would do this for free. Or they're going to go into a burning building. It takes a rare breed to do that. But they would do this knowing they still face this risk of occupational cancer.
Thank you very much. Up next, what's being done to save our firefighter heroes from this hidden epidemic?
34. It is not
Known for their brave.
I'm Bob Hugan, and I approve this message.
This new Beneful Simple Goodness is amazing meaty morsels, a tender texture with real meat, and a blend of peas and carrots I can see. A totally new kind of awesome going on here.
New Beneful Simple Goodness. Tender, meaty morsels with real ingredients you can see.
Closed caption brought to you by Lexus. Experience amazing.
Firefighters are known for their bravery, but they're fighting a danger they can't see. Cancer. And we're honored to have some of our brave firefighters in the tri-state area here. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. And you're motivated in ways that we can only imagine and aspire to in our own lives. Today, what we can all do to help protect these hero men and women. Boston 25 News anchor Blair Miller is back. He's been investigating this hidden epidemic. We're talking about what can be done to protect firefighters. Guys, this is really, really important for your communities. First up, the gear. There's the things we can do. They can make these wonderful brave souls safer. So what changes are being made to the gear?
There's a lot that can be done, and many firefighters used to have just one set of gear, like what you're seeing right here. Many fire departments have changed that. Some of the bigger cities have done that, but the agencies that have just one set of gear, the chemicals are getting on that gear over and over and over. They can't wash them. Some agencies have changed that. Not all agencies can afford it.
Plus, they're eating and drinking and sleeping next to these bits of gear, right?
Exactly.
I mean, just taking care of some of those precautions might reduce the chance of toxins getting into your body and maybe reduce the chance of some of these cancers.
And you also have to talk about the mask as well and the air tanks, because that plays a big role in all this as well. It used to be a sign of bravery for firefighters to go into a fire and get that black soot on the face. What they call it the salty Jake, and many of them over there probably would tell you the same thing. This used to be a badge of honor for many of the older firefighters that want to go into that fire and put the mask on at the very last second to be in that fire as long as they could, potentially save someone or save a home. That has since changed, and along with some of the tanks. The tanks used to be 15, 30 minutes. Now many of them are 45-minute capacity tanks. But again, it goes back to cost in some of these smaller communities.
Guys, this seems so simple, right? Simple, easy things. But not all cities have the resources to make these life-saving changes. Another problem is that not all municipalities consider cancer to be a work-related illness for firefighters, which leaves some of the bravest folks around having to bear the cost of a disease they likely got in the line of duty. So we have talked with the International Association of Firefighters, who said that the most important thing we can all do right now is let our hometowns know that we want them to recognize cancer as a work-related hazard and provide funding to both prevent and treat it. That's our obligation to these brave souls. We can go to our website to learn more on how you can help out. Let's do everything we can to protect our firefighters. Remember, happy and healthy, it starts at home.